If you're standing in the kitchen wondering whether a built-in beverage center is actually worth the space it takes up, you're not alone. Most of us want something that just works, that blends into the flow of daily life, and that doesn't feel like a gamble after we've already spent money on a fridge, a dishwasher, and a mountain of cookware. The fear of buying a fancy unit that ends up gathering dust or worse, breaking down because it was the wrong size for the kitchen layout is real. That's why today, I'm taking a close look at the Summit Appliance SCR600BGLBIHVADA 24-inch wide built-in beverage center, so you can decide if it's the practical upgrade you need or just another countertop accessory that will sit idle. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of kitchen where this unit actually makes sense. The design is meant for a 24-inch opening, which is a pretty common width for many built-in configurations, especially in homes that have already invested in a standard appliance panel. If you have a narrow wall where a dishwasher or a side-by-side refrigerator used to sit, the beverage center can fill that gap without forcing you to remodel. Its 32-inch height is deliberately kept low enough to sit under an AD accompaniment counter, meaning it won't dominate the visual line of the room. That's a practical win for anyone who's trying to keep a sleek, uniform look while still adding a dedicated space for drinks. One of the biggest concerns people mention when they consider a beverage center is temperature consistency. The Summit model uses fan-forced cooling, so the interior stays more evenly chilled than a simple static unit. In real life, that translates to fewer cold spots and a more reliable beverage temperature, whether you're pulling a six-pack of craft beer or a case of bottled water. I've seen a lot of home buyers test this by filling the unit with a mixture of drinks at different starting temperatures and watching how long each takes to reach the set point. With this unit, the fan helps moderate the temperature swing, making it a decent choice for households that like to entertain on short notice. Now, let's talk about the actual capacity. The specs list 5.5 cubic feet, which is roughly the amount of space you'd get in a small mini-fridge. In practice, that means you can comfortably hold a standard 24-can case of soda, a couple of small kegs, or a selection of wine bottles if you're willing to stagger them on the adjustable glass shelves. The shelves themselves are a nice touch because you can move them to accommodate taller bottles or the occasional pitcher. That flexibility can be a lifesaver in a family that drinks a mix of soft drinks, juices, and the occasional adult beverage. It also makes the unit feel less one-size-fits-all and more adaptable to the way you actually store things. Security isn't something you think about until something goes missing. The factory-installed lock on this model gives you a level of peace of mind if you live with roommates, have kids, or simply want to keep the contents out of sight. It's not a high-tech biometric lock, but a sturdy mechanical latch that's built into the door, so you won't be wrestling with a flimsy plastic latch that pops open every time someone pushes the door. On the flip side, there are a few practical trade-offs that are easy to overlook until you have the unit in front of you. One is the auto defrost feature. While it eliminates the need for you to manually scrape ice, it does mean the unit runs a short defrost cycle on its own, which can cause a brief temperature rise. If you're storing a particularly temperature-sensitive beverage like certain craft beers that are meant to stay just above freezing, you might notice a slight fluctuation during those cycles. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's worth knowing if you're a purist about brew temperatures. Another hidden cost is the installation flexibility. The unit is advertised as both built-in and freestanding, but that flexibility comes with a caveat. When you opt for a built-in installation, you'll need to cut precise openings in the cabinetry, and you may need to coordinate with a contractor or an appliance installer. DIYers who have never done a cutout for a refrigerator should be cautious. The freestanding option, while technically possible, can look out of place if the surrounding cabinets aren't matched in finish or style. So, the value proposition really hinges on how prepared you are to handle the installation, or whether you're willing to spend a bit extra on professional help. Who should buy this beverage center? If you're a small to medium household that regularly entertains, and you've got a dedicated 24-inch space that's currently underutilized, this is a solid addition. The fan-forced cooling, adjustable shelving, and lock make it functional for a range of drinks, from soda to wine to the occasional small keg. It also shines for people who need AD-compliant layouts, as the height and design respect those standards without compromising on storage.